What up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you. Forgive me, I'm trying to adjust my camera. But I want to talk about LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma, and the latest energy that's being portrayed out there between the two of them. Basically, make a long story very short, Kyle Kuzma's trainer came out and said that he thought that LeBron James was dodging smoke with Kawhi Leonard. And take a look at the two players. You can see Kawhi Leonard's game is basically more refined right now than LeBron's. You can see he was in the lab and who ain't. So basically, he was, stating his opinion on what LeBron James is looking like out there in comparison to Kawhi, and basically saying LeBron James don't want no smoke with Kawhi. And Kyle Kuzma may have, and it's hard to really tell if this actually went down the way that people think it does. It did, but if you're looking at the situation as face value, it looks like he's responding to his trainer, and he's agreeing. He's basically saying, call a spade a spade. It is what it is, more or less. He agrees. There's no real way to determine whether or not he agreed with the trainer's statement or he was talking about something entirely different. But it looked like he was responding to what his trainer was saying, and the timing would align with that. So that's what the media narrative is running with, and that's what I'm here to weigh in on. First of all, I'd like to think that Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James are both working very hard. Okay? Second of all, LeBron James is several years older than Kawhi Leonard, so they're playing for different things, different stages of their careers, different goals. Even though they want the same thing, which is the NBA championship, I think they have different ways of going about it, just based on how much time Kawhi has and how much time it appears LeBron doesn't. So look, I got on here a few nights ago on Christmas night and expressed my frustration with the Lakers, my frustration with LeBron James's approach to these games against the Clippers. And I wanted to, basically correlate what I saw from Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and how they would approach games that had this type of personal atmosphere, this type of playoff atmosphere. And basically say, more or less that I didn't like what I'm seeing from LeBron James. I'm used to a certain level of intensity that came from the stars before them that I was able to watch anyway. And it was just, seems like they took it more personal when it had this much on the line. And I don't think that LeBron James was showing me that he had that same intensity that the Clippers were, first of all, bringing his way, but also that same intensity that those players from the Laker past had displayed in situations such as these. And what I was used to seeing is if they lost a game like this, guys were mad at one another. Guys were calling each other out. Guys were going to each other's heads. Guys were putting in extra effort in the gym, trying to make sure that they're seen working harder than the next guy. If you lost a game like this, you're going to go hard to make sure that the rest of the league pays for the fact that you lost a personal game. That kind of thing is what I'm used to from Shaq and Kobe, and mainly any team that Kobe Bryant was on. Not to compare the two, because obviously Kobe Bryant was legendary in his approach to games, his work ethic and all of that. It's not to be compared with just about anyone, really, unless you want to talk about Jerry Rice or someone outside of the NBA. I mean, Kobe Bryant's work ethic was some of the best we'd ever seen. So just not really a comparison that you can say is accurate. But what you want to see is at least somebody bringing the level of energy that the fans do, at the very least, to personal games. And when we're talking about this Clipper-Laker matchup, obviously it's the biggest thing going in all of the league right now. The Clippers are extremely talented, and they have extreme dogs, and they got some talkers over there too, and Pat Bev, and Laker fans are looking silly out here. And what we want is for our team, who's also very, very talented, to beat their team, or at least take what's being said personally, because we are. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where we're hoping that LeBron James understands the intensity that we want him to bring as fans, and we hope that he understands what needs to be done in regards to end the game situations, making free throws, attacking the basket, things like that, and most importantly, playing hard. And at times it seems like he was not himself against the Clippers, and as to where if he was going up against, say, Brooklyn or up against the Nuggets or something like that, you see him with a different level of intensity. See him with a more confident level of intensity. So I felt like Kyle Kuzma's trainer's statements Well, not too far away from how I felt, to be completely honest with you guys. I don't want to be disrespectful to the king, but, it seemed to me that Kawhi Leonard is ready. He's prepared for the challenge of taking down the Lakers and the king. And he's not concerned with outside noise or even inside noise for that matter. He's just focused on the task at hand. And even after beating us twice, he's still saying it don't matter. It's all about the championship. It's all about beating us in the playoffs if we were to see him. Patrick Beverley's running his mouth. Paul George is still saying statements about how, he grew up a Clipper fan and that's what means the most to him, not this Lakers stuff. It's like we are suddenly in the background. And how did that happen when we got the championships and they haven't won anything? We have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and those are players that are generally ranked higher than Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So it's like if we have the more star-studded team, we have this fandom of the city, we have all of the history. How is it that we're not matching the intensity of their squad? How is it that we're not taking more pride in the fact that we are in this position, that they're trying to take it from us? So, and that's notwithstanding from the fact that we've been missing the playoffs and they just made the playoffs. So I'm not foolish and I want to mention that. But at the same time, it's like, look, Kyle Kuzma needs to understand that these are statements by his trainer that are not going to have much of a repercussion for his trainer, but they will have repercussions for him. Now, if I'm LeBron James, I'm taking what he's saying personally, but I'm not going to try to get him traded. I'm going to try to prove him wrong. I'm going to spend the rest of the season proving him wrong. I'm going to let this light a fire underneath me because I've dished out energy also toward my teammates in the past. Clenched fist, all this little passive-aggressive stuff that he's used online against some of his teammates of the past. That whole energy against Kevin Love. He's called people out in the past. So when somebody calls him out and one of his teammates agrees with it, I would expect to be able to absorb that like a man. He's an older person. He understands. Kyle Kuzma's a young fella. He's barely 21. So you understand Kyle Kuzma is immature in his response if this is indeed what Kyle is doing, leaving room for the fact that it may not be. And saying, basically, all right, let me prove you wrong, little fella. Do him dirty in practice. It's the first thing you do is do him dirty in practice. You sit him down. You let him know where he is in comparison to where you are. Remind him of who he is. You little Kyle Kuzma, I'm the great LeBron James, and you can't say or do nothing to me. And I'll show up when I'm ready to show up, and I'm going to show out when I'm ready to show out. You make your presence known, but you don't do no sly going to genie bullshit crap like that and getting them traded. That's soft, that's weak, and that's further proving the point that Kyle is trying to make. What Kyle is basically saying is, look, I'm a man from Flint, Michigan. We don't run from no smoke. I don't know what you going through or what you about. But when somebody's taking something personally against Kyle Kuzma's ready to match that intensity. Now, what I expect from Kyle Kuzma is to play better. I expect him to grow in his game. I expect him to show what he's capable of. And I expect him to try his best to stay as healthy as possible, which is only but so much is in his control. And I expect him to stand strong. You know what I mean? You can't say stuff like that, or rather agree with stuff like that and then not show out afterward. You got to show the king that you are more or less ready to take on the identity of the team yourself. And that's what we kept you for, to be here being a star after LeBron leaves, and you're supposed to be number 2 with Anthony Davis, or if Anthony Davis leaves, this is your team, Kyle. Like, basically, you have to take on these assignments that LeBron James isn't doing and show that you're one of the players that should be reckoned with in this league. I used to say that Jason Tatum's better. Jason Tatum wasn't as good as Kyle Kuzma. Often people would compare those two players together. I think it's very clear that Jason Tatum's better than Kyle Kuzma at this point, and I think it's upon Kyle Kuzma to try to sway that and back his way, more or less. So there's a lot of things that I expect out of Kyle Kuzma that I haven't seen this season, but at the same time, I also believe in his ability to score the basketball at an extremely, extremely gifted clip. He's an artist with the basketball, and I saw glimpses of that in the Christmas game. So I'm hoping that he can start playing better, and he will make it so that we can offset what we're dealing with here with some of the injuries that are starting to rear their ugly heads. So I don't want to trade Kyle Kuzma. I have no interest in that. If anything, he's doing exactly what I would want LeBron to do, which is get mad at somebody when we lose a game like this. You know what I mean? We're on a 4-game losing streak. Guys are playing like crap. Get your head out your behinds. Stop believing in yourselves and start doing the work that will require you to believe in yourself in the first place. All this, we're the Lakers, so we're entitled to win bullshit is why we're losing games. You know what I mean? Thinking we don't have to go into situations with our hard hats on, thinking that our Laker lore is going to win games for us, or the fact that we have LeBron James on our team is just going to give us an automatic trip to the finals. That's not going to be the case. Guys need to get angry. Guys need to take personal matchups personally. And when it's time to see Kawhi Leonard, we can't have fear in our hearts. We can't have this level of timidness that I've been seeing both in the first game and in the Christmas Day game. Okay? We had leads in both of those games, and we didn't put our stranglehold on that game because we were too busy watching Kawhi Leonard shooting over us, jumping over us, doing all the things that we weren't doing, hitting his free throws, etc. And a lot of that just comes down to LeBron James's intensity. If he plays like the great LeBron James that we remember and know, because some games he's great, some games he doesn't show up like we know him to show up. And it's like, if you give us what you're capable of in those games, there's no issue. And that's why everybody's so frustrated at this point in Lakerland. And overall, I'm just happy with Kyle Kuzma's ability to have the guts to stand up to LeBron James, as he's done before. As we all remember him pushing LeBron in that one play last year on the defensive end. Don't be afraid of that guy. You know what I'm saying? I'll never fear somebody that I see fearful of someone else. And, that's how I look at that. If you show fear, and that's exactly what it seems LeBron is showing against Kawhi, can you say whatever you want? It looks that way. And that's what the trainer was calling out. Then there ain't no reason for Kyle Kuzma to be afraid of him. For what? For what? Why should he cower in the face of someone who's cowering in the face of someone else? So at that point in time, I agree with Kyle Kuzma as it pertains to standing up to LeBron. Maybe you cover your backside a little better by not putting yourself in a position to get traded, which you've given him all the ammo to push you up out of there. But at the end of the day, if the Lakers are wise, they don't quit on a guy who can score 40 points in 3 quarters. And that's what Kyle Kuzma is, someone who's capable of such a thing. It's already been done. So, Kyle needs to get in the gym. If he wants to call LeBron out, you got to be working too. And play better. If you're going to agree with these type of statements, you better play better. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. You better play better. And as far as LeBron James, stop, duck, and smoke. Stop looking like you know what I'm saying? I made a whole video about this. And you call up against Kawhi Leonard, you need to get angry. You need to take this personally. The media is telling you to take it personally. Fans telling you to take it personally. Your teammates and their trainers are telling you to take it personally. Take it personally, bro. And I'm not a young fella. I'm actually about 4 months older than LeBron James. So I feel like from a standpoint of knowing exactly what I'm looking at in regards to somebody who's my age. Now I know smoke when I see it, and I also know fear when I see it. LeBron James need not be afraid of Kawhi Leonard. I know he's beat you in the finals. You've also beat him in the finals. I know he's coming out here with this mindset where it seems like he's not really afraid of anything. And he doesn't seem to have some of the issues with being self-conscious that LeBron has. And he seems to have a one-track mind as it pertains to destroying LeBron James, both on the court and intellectually, in terms of how he got away from the Lakers and used the Lakers as leverage. That was direct shots at LeBron. He's been trying to be a LeBron killer since he got into the league. That's his whole purpose. I think he would be a Laker if LeBron James was on the Clippers. That's how much he wants to go against who he considers the greatest player in the world. And you need to understand that, LeBron James, that this guy considers you the greatest player in the world. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't be going about the things that he's going about the way that he is. His purpose is to beat the best. And you happen to be that. So you know what drives Kawhi Leonard when you want to dig deeper into it? It's an understanding that he is not you. That's the bottom line. He ain't you. And that drives him. You don't see him going up against Giannis this way. You don't see him going up against Steph Curry this way. You don't see him going up against anybody this way. Because he knows who the king is. And he knows who the king isn't. Him. That's the confidence LeBron needs to take into every single game he plays against this dude. And understand it's going to take your best to beat this dude. But just because he has this demeanor that shows that he isn't afraid of anything, doesn't mean that you need to be afraid of him. He's not wearing his fear. It's just driving him. And that's what I know. So if you're LeBron James, Let go of all the stuff that you're thinking about when it comes to this dude, and just remember who you are and who he's not. Because the media can be fooled. Some of the fans can be fooled. But there's no question about who went to 9 straight finals and who didn't. Kawhi ain't did that. LeBron has. BDF.